Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hello beautiful souls, how are everyone? So let's get on through the main topic of this video. In the last few months it felt like everything is building up, but then we don't see the results, nothing moving forward. But then we was dreaming it's going to happen when the January ends, but then it didn't. Then we was thinking, okay, maybe we need to wait till end of February and then March will be the better month, but then didn't feel like it happened. And I have great news for you. In mid of April is where the new beginning is going to start. The reason is, up till now, up till mid of April, we had all planets in Pisces. But in mid of April, we have everything moving in Eris. So what is going to happen? When we had everything in Pisces, it felt like we can dream, but then can we achieve what we dream about? Blurring of edges. Maybe some dreams got dissolved, face the reality situation. But because Pisces is the sign of endings, actually, of dissolvement, the sign of dreams, the sign of blurring the edges. But in the mid of April, all planets will be in Eris, and this is what is Eris. Eris is the beginning. Eris is the baby of the zodiac. Eris acts. Eris pushes forward. Eris do not want to wait forever. And we have some amazing, very interesting aspects cooking up in April. So this video is going to, in this video, I'm going to analyze them. I'm going to analyze the energies they will bring to the collective, to all of us. So enjoy watching.
As April begins, the Sun is already in Eris. But Mars and Mercury are still in Pisces at first, along with North Node. So the month opens with strange mixture. There is already trust building because the Sun is in Eris, but some of the fastest planets are still moving through Pisces. So part of the energies is still soft and clear, dreaming-like, and remaining. And in the background, we're still having Saturn-Neptune conjunction. This conjunction was exact on 20th of February 2026. By April the 1st, Saturn and Neptune are still only around 3.5 degrees apart, so the conjunction is still very much active. This is one of the deepest background stories of the whole month. Saturn asks what is real, Neptune devolves certainty, so together they ask what dream is ending, what old myth is fading apart, what belief system can no longer hold. But this is much bigger. It is not only about the next few weeks. It's not only about the last few years. This is part of a much larger change in humanity history. So April, it won't be the whole transformation, but it's like the threshold month inside a very much bigger cycle. Then we have April the 1st, full moon in Libra. The month begins with the full moon in Libra, April the 1st. This full moon is very important because it sets the tone of everything that follows. The full moon opposes Aries Sun, and the Sun is tied into a larger Aries field that includes Neptune, Eris, Saturn, and Chiron. At the same time, Jupiter in Cancer directly adds pressure to the full moon dynamics. So the month starts with tension, with awareness, with culmination. This full moon can expose imbalance. It can reveal where something is out of alignment. It can show where the need of relationship, fairness, and perspective is clashing with the push to act, move, and define a new direction. The full moon is connected to Chiron-Eris conjunction, which was exact on 19th of March. And this is important because Eris create chaos, Eris expose what does not fit, Eris reveals what has been ignored or excluded. And Chiron bring potential for healing. So this is not just conflict for the sake of conflict. This is kind of a tension that can expose old wounds so they can finally be seen and understood. Then, 9th of April, Mars enters Aries, April the 9th. Then we come to one of the most important moments of the month. On April 9th, when Mars enters Aries, create a major shift because Mars rules Aries. So when Mars enters Aries, it is strong. It is in his home. It is in his own sign. It is force because becomes shaper, hotter, faster, and more direct. And the Sun is also in Aries. So once Mars enters Aries on April the 9th, the fire rises very quickly. This is where the month really starts to accelerate. This can bring courage, this can bring momentum, this can bring confidence and initiative. But it can also bring impatience, reactivity, aggression, impulse. It's a very powerful energy, but it needs to be handled consciously because Aries want to move things first and then to think later. So it's very important to balance ourselves, to stay grounded, to think before we say something, to think twice before we act on something. If we feel angry, agitated, to remind ourselves it's just temporary emotion and feeling, and to try to control their reactivity and impulse and aggression. April the 12th, Mars conjunct Neptune in Eris. This is again very important transit because Mars is action, Neptune is vision, dream, longing, imagination, spirituality, but also confusion and illusion. So when Mars meets Neptune, action becomes infused with dreams. This can be beautiful. It can inspire people to move towards something meaningful. It can give spiritual courage, creative passion, a sense of acting from a deeper vision. But Neptune can also blur reality. So this transit can also bring projection, fantasy, confusion, act on something that feels truly emotional, but it's not very grounded yet. So April the 12th, the desire to move is very strong, but not everything is fully clear yet. This is fire moving through the mist. Then what's going on 14th of April? Mercury enters Eris. 14th of April, Mercury enters Eris. This changes the tone of communication and thoughts. Mercury in Eris is fast, direct, bold, impatient. It wants to say it. It wants to decide on it. It wants to move on it. So the mind speed up now. Thoughts come more quickly, words come more quickly, decisions as well are made more quickly. But also, on 14th of April, the Sun conjunct Eris. So this carry a double charge. Mercury enters Eris, sharpening the mind and the voice, and the Sun meets Eris, striking disruption, tension, exposure, and unrest. This can bring direct conversations, sharp truth, conflicts surfacing, things can have seen shimmering beneath the surface suddenly becomes visible. This is not a calm movement. This is not a calm and peaceful astrology. It is fast moving with a lot of fire energy. Then on 16th of April, the Sun conjunct Chiron. This adds vulnerability to the fire. Chiron in Eris speaks to wounds around identity, around selfhood, courage, confidence, the right to exist as we are. So nothing in astrology is happened by accident. Obviously, with all this fire energy and all this desire to act, to speak, to take decisions based on the fire within us, Chiron come in to balance slightly the situation, to bring the vulnerability when it's needed. So when the sun meets Chiron, something personal may rise. Maybe an old wound, maybe insecurity, maybe pain connected to self-expression, rejection, or the fear of not being enough. But Chiron is not only about pain. Chiron also brings healing through awareness. So this can be very a revelating day, emotionally. And when something becomes visible, it can fully begin to heal. In the same day, 16th of April, we have Mars sextiling Pluto, which is another balancing aspect. Pluto sextiles as one of the saving grace this month, because Pluto bring depths, Pluto bring transformation, Pluto bring substance. Without Pluto, this much Aries could become reckless. But Pluto gave an opportunity to work with a real change. This is not just movement for the sake of movement. This is change to align action with deep transformation. Okay, so Mars and Pluto sextile happening in 16th of April is like what happened in 12th of January 2022, Saturn-Pluto conjunction. According to Rick Levine, he mentioned that. You remember what happened then? This is where the genome was released, the COVID-19 no fatalities was announced, and we suddenly end up in a lockdown all over the world. So he associates Mars sextiling Pluto 60 of April with this past event now is in the history in 2020. So in April 2026, Eris sextiling Pluto is reactive part of that deeper process. The message is clear. There is not going back. Something fundamental has changed. Is marking a huge collective turning point. The beginning of it. The beginning of huge collective turning point. So let's see what is going to happen 16th of April. I'm curious. I'm excited to see. Then again on 16th of April, Mercury conjunct Neptune. So now the mind is not only fast and furious from Eris, but also influenced with Neptune. This can bring inspiration, intuition, poetic thinking, spiritual message, creative vision. But it can also bring a fog. And this is where we have to be careful. Because Mercury in Aries can feel very certain, and Neptune can make certainty unreliable. So people may feel convinced, but not everything people believe or say now will be fully accurate. This is why it matters to double check the information, to check different sources. Do not get everything you see from one source. Do not take it as true. Check other sources. And then the energy is strong, but clarity must be checked. April 17. April 17 is going to be a wonderful day because we have new moon in Eris. It's kind of reaching the center of the mid-April story. 17th of April. The new moon will happen 12:51 p.m. Greenwich time, Universal Time. And the new moon is one of the most dense and intense seed moments of this year. This is very important. This new moon is not culmination, but it is the beginning. The full moon on the 1st of April is more like culmination point, but then the new moon on April the 17th is the seed of what's come next. And this new moon happens in the middle of extraordinary Eris concentration. We have the new moon in Eris, Eris and Chiron nearby, Mercury aligned with Neptune, Mars and Saturn in Eris, Pluto receiving supportive sextiles. And this is intense, and this is focused. And this is a moment of ignition. So this new moon is saying, begin, move, choose a direction. Not because everything is already clear, but because something new is now being asked to be born. And after the new moon in Aries on 19 of April, Mars conjunct Saturn. And this is very important turning point. Mars wants to push, Saturn says stop. Mars wants speed, Saturn brings structure, limit, and consequences. So just after this powerful Aries new moon, this energy meets a wall. This can feel frustrating, and it can feel like delay, pressure, control, or confrontation with authorities. Because Aries without Saturn can go so far. So Saturn forces maturity, discipline, containment. So this is where the fire has to become more responsible. Then 2 days after that, April the 20th, the Sun enters in Taurus. And this brings some relief. After all, there is intensity. Taurus asks what is stable, what is valued, what can endure, what can we actually need. Taurus grounds the energy. It slows things down. It brings the focus back to resources, body, food, money, safety, and real life. And around this period, Mercury also catches up with Saturn and Mars. So now, thoughts, plans, and conversations meet both forces in structure. This can bring serious discussions, reality check, conflicts with the authority, or the need to define clear boundaries. Okay, so let's touch a little bit on the warfare and the collective climate. What's going on in the war now? It's not a physical war. It's not only a physical war, it's not only a military conflict, but also a war of information, a war of narrative. We witness a war over truth and perception. And this matter especially now because the planets are leaving Pisces and moving into Aries. That means beliefs become action, narrative becomes force, perception becomes consequences. And if people are acting from fear, manipulated information, or ideological certainty, this Aries energy can escalate very fast. Uranus has moved back into Gemini, and historically we can see the United States have been involved in major wars. American Revolution, Civil War, World War II, and now we will have Uranus in Gemini, and United States, we're going to see if it's going to be involved in a war again or not. But at this point, US is playing parts. But this time is a bit different, because what we have now is a kind of technological war, information war, a consciousness war. And because of that, one of the most important things we can do is pay attention to the information we consume. Who is sharing the story? What are we being taught to fear? What are we focused on and why? If we listen the news in one channel, then we have to check other sources. We have to check other channels. We have to check different sources and to make sure the information is accurate. And we need multiple perspectives, not only one source, not only one fixed stories. Also, we need to know different perspectives of individuals the story is about, because they may be true in different perspectives. This becomes even more important as Uranus move to Gemini later on in the month. Then 23rd of April, Venus conjunct Uranus. At the very end of Taurus. This happening at the very end of Taurus. This is another major moment. Venus in Taurus is strong. It is at home there. So, through April, Venus in Taurus reminds us of what is tangible, our values, our finances, our bodies, our food, basic needs, and sense of stability. But then, Venus meets Uranus, and something unexpected can break through. This can bring sudden change in relationships, values, money, attraction, pleasure, a material reality. It can feel exciting. It can feel liberating. It can feel surprising. Point where changes may begin to feel interesting or desirable instead of only threatening. There will be shift in our own perception of what is threatening and what is not. Things that have been threatening before, now we may find them interesting and even desirable. And then Venus enters Gemini. And then Uranus enters Gemini. Shortly after the conjunction, Venus moves into Gemini. And then Uranus enters Gemini, where it will remain for the next 7 years without turning to Taurus again. And this is a huge shift. Uranus in Taurus has been like change trapped in stone. Taurus is stable, slow, solid earth. So Uranus there has had to create absurd shock just to make anything to move. But once Uranus enters Gemini, changes become quicker. Lighter, faster, more fluid, more informational. I'm so excited about this transit. I've been waiting it for a very long time now. This point towards major development in communication, AI, social media, technology, any kind of media, information system, a wider mental atmospheres of the collective, and Uranus in Gemini also begins to activate its trine to Pluto in Aquarius, which is such a big air sign story that keep building up. So by late April, we're clearly entering a new phase of energies that haven't been around for a very, very long time. I have a video Uranus in Gemini, and I spending quite a long time how will impact each astrological sign based on the rising sign. So I will leave a link to Uranus in Gemini forecast down below in the link if you want to watch it. Just click on the link down below. Oh, and by the way, please like, share, write a comment. Thank you so much. Then 25th of April, Sun square Pluto. On 25th of April, as Uranus moving to Gemini, the Sun is in Taurus squaring Pluto in Aquarius. So again, power dynamics intensity. This can bring struggles around control, authority, consciousness, collective directions. The whole period around 23rd of April to 25th of April are disruptive, but also very important, because this is where the month starts pointing clearly towards the future. 26th of April, Mercury square Jupiter. This can bring big thinking, big ideas, big claims, big conversations, big visions, everything with big. It can be inspiring, but it can also exaggerate. So again, just double check all information you're taking in, double check the source, just be careful. Be careful, be mindful, and try to stay grounded. 28th of April, Venus trining Pluto. These bring a deeper tone. These aspects can help us sense where the bigger transformation is going. It's not the full story yet, but it is a preview of the deeper shift still unfolding as Uranus and Venus continue moving through Gemini and interacting with Pluto. what happens now matters. What we do now is architecturally important. This period is helping lay foundations, and again, this is the beginning of metamorphosis of humanity, from astrological perspective. Not ordinary change, not leaves falling from a tree, but like total transformation. So yes, April is intense. Yes, it can bring fear, pressure, conflict, and uncertainty, but it is also part of a much bigger becoming. So what we can do, we have to stay flexible and with positive mindset. One of the most important things for April, we shouldn't stay in state of fear if there is not real immediate threat around us in our own surrounding, And right now, of the collective anxiety is like free flowing. People are afraid of losing control, afraid because reality feel unstable, afraid because what they thought was solid no longer looks solid, and fear can be manipulated. This is why we have to stay aware of different aspects of truth. We have to know different versions of the story, not only to listen one story and to take it as true. We need to listen the different sides. And this is especially important because Aries energy can become blind when it's overfilled with enthusiasm. Aries acts, but Aries does not always discriminate. So we need to consciously bring in that missing discriminant. We need to ask what is true, what is projection, what is real, what story am I feeding, what I'm reacting to, what deserves my energy. And if you feel fear, you have to ask yourself, is my intermediate environment under any danger at the moment? Is my fear reasonable? Okay, so the planets are leaving Pisces, and the old dream felt is behind us. Now trust begins. By mid of April, we are no longer standing in a threshold. We are moving through it. The full moon of April is happening on the 1st of April. It reveals what is already culminating. Mars enter Eris, 9th of April. Mars conjuncting Neptune, 12th of April. Mercury enters Eris and Sun conjunct Eris, April the 14th. The Sun conjunct Chiron, Mars sextile Pluto and Mercury conjunct Neptune on April the 6th. Mars enter the Aries New Moon arrives on April the 17th. Mars conjunct Saturn on April the 19th. April the 20th, Sun enters Taurus. Venus conjunct Uranus on April 23rd. The Sun square Pluto on April 25th. Mercury squares Jupiter on April 26th. Venus trines Pluto on April 28th. So this is the month of momentum and the month of pressure. All these aspects and dates, when they're happening, I will leave them on the description down below, so you can refer to them anytime you need. So April is a month of elevation, a month of ignition, and above all, this is month that makes the shift from Pisces to Aries, from the endings to the beginnings, from dissolvings to acting, from the dreaming to the fire. So we have to move carefully, to move consciously, but not to stand still and waiting the things to happen. We have to initiate them. Although the initiation need to be with the right intention and in the right way. Because the fire is already rising and is asking us to act. But then we should be mindful not to act from a reckless point. Okay, thank you so much. I will see you in the next video. God bless.